Hi, this is Dawn Petalino, your transformational coach and best-selling author of Peace, Power, and Miracles, and welcome to Miracle Monday. Miracle Monday is just where I offer you reminders of different truths that help us to open our hearts and practical tools that we can use as well to get past the places where we actually close our heart. Because once we open our heart, we connect with our higher consciousness, and that's really where miracles come from. So today's Miracle Monday tool is about, do you hold yourself to unrelenting standards? And what I mean by that is a lot of times, those of us who are a bit perfectionist don't even call ourselves perfectionists. Why? Because we have this mantra in our head that says, I didn't do enough. I'm not enough. I could have done more. I need to do more. And so it always has a sense of not enough. Because somewhere inside we feel that we're not enough and we have to do more in order to compensate for that. This person who has unrelenting standards has their biggest pressure is time. They feel anxiety that there's just never enough time to get everything done that I need to do. And everything takes on an emergency kind of feel. Nothing can really be let go of. It's just like you have to check all those boxes and you have to cross all those things out. Otherwise, it's just not a good day. The unrelenting standards person also tends to look at the one thing that went wrong versus the other accomplishments that they did. Their life is a little bit out of balance. They become the workaholics, that they're always trying to do more, to be more, to accomplish more in some way. Now, it doesn't have to be with work. It could be just in some way. It could be with looks. It could be with a particular hobby, though it might not become a hobby, because one other thing about the unrelenting standards person is that even activities that are enjoyable, you turn them into like goals almost. So hiking doesn't become a walk in the woods. Hiking becomes how many miles can I get done here? Everything becomes like kind of this sense of accomplishment. And so the ability to relax is kind of thwarted. You don't really relax. Life loses its fun flavor because everything feels like this overwhelming pressure. And that's the other thing, is people with unrelenting standards tend to feel overwhelmed because they're putting themselves under all this pressure of what they feel they have to do. Now, fortunately, if this sounds like you, there is, an antidote. And the very first thing we have to remember is where this came from. It's not like we wanted to grow up and be like, high standard people. What we did instead is that somewhere in our life we were made to feel shamed or criticized. And so in order to feel good enough, in order to gain someone's approval or love or respect, we ended up developing these high standards that in some way, shape, or form, if we keep working hard enough, that we will finally be able to relax, to feel good about ourselves. Only it's a lie, because somewhere inside we don't feel it. We feel defective in some way. Somebody made us feel that way, that even if we accomplish something, it's like we don't even really enjoy it. We go on to the next thing. Yeah, but I still got to do this. So the first thing is just to notice where it came from. It was a tool that was developed when you were young, when you didn't feel, you felt like something was defective about you. And so the best thing you could do was try to earn it, earn love, earn approval, earn respect. And that child was really smart. That child, he or she realized, I can't, it's not coming to me. Either the parents are really critical, or they hold high standards for themselves, or somewhere they shamed me and made me feel like something's wrong with me. And so because of that, that child inside said, well, wait, that's kind of painful. There's got to be something I can do. You think about it. If a child recognized that they didn't have control, that would just be the ultimate fear for a child. Their very livelihood would be threatened. So as a child, they have to take it on that somehow, some way, they can do something to get that love, that respect, that approval. And so ultimately there come the high standards, right? And so but what happens is we start, seeing these high standards modeled, or we start trying to impose them on ourselves in some area in our lives so we could be good enough to gain that person's approval. And then we keep going with it, and it takes on a momentum of its own. And so when you understand where it comes from, that was a really smart kid. That was compassion for the child that found a way to survive. Good job by you. Now it's no longer effective. So getting out of that is having compassion for where it came from, understanding it was an intelligent thing to do. Secondly, become aware of when you're falling into it. Become aware, for myself, I would just pack things in my day, and then I'd keep myself in this constant anxiety because I was always running around and there was just never enough time. But I couldn't let go of anything. And so I would start to notice when I was rushing. And I was like, oh my gosh, here it is. So you start to notice when you're feeling that pressure and you catch yourself. And the very first thing you do is you name it. You say, this is it. This is my unrelenting standards right here. And then the second thing you do is you notice what happens in my body when I do this. What are the thoughts going on in my head when I think I have to do this? What are the emotions that I'm feeling when that happens? And so we have this the standard that we kind of have to live up to, but we have to notice what's going on in our body and our thoughts and emotions so we can catch ourselves the next time. And then you have to give yourself a reality check, because part of the unrelenting standards is this thought that if I let go of something, that everything else is going to crash. And so we have to give ourselves a reality check of how important is it? How important is it? And to really look at, even though there are certain gains that we get from these high standards, we really have to look at what are the disadvantages. Life's not fun. You're probably stressed out. Your relationships are suffering. That's the problem. We live up to these standards and we kind of push everybody else and everything else aside. They come second to the goals. So your relationships are probably suffering. Also, your health is probably suffering. And so we have to look at, wow, what am I sacrificing by maintaining this? So once you catch yourself, compassion, catch yourself, notice the symptoms, name it, notice, give yourself the reality check, and is this worth it? Is this worth it? And then slowly begin to change. Begin to imagine what it would be like to have less pressure in your life. Begin to imagine what it would be like to begin to do less. Now that can feel scary, so you change. This is where the last step is you act, but you act in small ways. So it might be that one day, I don't go to the gym that day. And just notice that the world doesn't fall apart. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you gain 50 pounds, that these unrealistic ideas, we have to challenge them. But you can only challenge them when you have the compassion within yourself to understand where they came from. The other thing is that whenever we feel the part of us, whenever you're really in touch with that child part of you that feels like she's got to be good, when she gets triggered or he gets triggered and feels like he or she has to do more and that inadequacy feeling comes up, to really just sit with that, close your eyes, see if you can envision that child, and then talk to that child. You as the adult can actually talk to that child with love and tell that child, no more. You're good enough today, and it's okay, and I love you right here and right now, and we're going to take care of you. We are not going to re-traumatize you again and again and again. The Course of Love says that all you need, well, first of all, it says that you're going to have to revisit the past in order to do an undoing. So you can recognize that what's under there is really love. The fear is what's under there is like some kind of shame, defective person. But whenever we join again in that unity, we bring love to that situation. We're going to realize that all that's under there is love. And it says it just needs a nod of compassion, a glance, or a nod of understanding and a glance of compassion. And that comes from your heart. So you remind that part of you that's feeling desperate that it's loved, and that you no longer have to live in that world of re-experiencing that trauma of not feeling good enough. That stops. And you do it with baby steps. You do it with small places. And you gradually work to the bigger places. But it's a practice. And you do it as a way of building self-love. And when you begin to change your behavior, when you begin to change your attitude to yourself, those unrelenting standards are going to come down. You're going to feel more relaxed in your body. Your days are going to go a little bit easier. Your relationships are going to improve immensely because now you're available for them. And your values, the things that you really care about, are going to be a greater part of your life. So, if this speaks to you today, if you hold that unrelenting standards for yourself, I hope that you take these steps into your mind here and you take them into your day and you begin to really catch yourself. And you begin to really recognize what are the disadvantages, what am I doing to myself? And you begin to give yourself a reality check, but with compassion for why this pattern developed in the first place. I hope you have a miraculous Monday. I hope you begin to allow yourself permission to do a little less. Because if you have unrelenting standards, the truth is you could probably do 25% less and you will still be doing probably more than the majority of people, just to give you that reality check. Have a miraculous Monday. Find a way to love yourself today and open your heart. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.